Haiti. I think they were part of, and Isaac. I've seen you guys in the past couple weeks. So I'm really glad to meet you all. I heard from DK that most of the attendees will be high school and junior high, but I'm surprised to see a very diverse age groups. So it's good. But if it's like during the course of the lecture, if anything is too difficult or you think you don't understand something, then please ask any question that you have. So let me share something. Let's see. We're gonna start by watching a video. Can you guys see?
The biggest challenge when we talk about revolutions, what is going to happen next?
When we study the fourth industrial revolution, we cannot deny that it is coming because we are already using the technology.
It is actually a fusion of technologies like artificial intelligence and leveraging on the internet.
Fourth industrial revolution can be understood as an era of infinite possibilities.
The seamless integration of the cyber, physical and biological system driven by the advancement in artificial intelligence is characterized by the speed. Everything is changing exponentially.
The impact will become more significant in the future as more platforms are now being integrated with internet and robotics.
We are seeing machines connected to each other, machines connected to internet, and hence now machines can talk to each other. Not only can they talk to each other, but they are also generating data. We need intelligence, we need artificial intelligence and analytics skills to actually make sense of those data.
We should be able to leverage the power of the big data and to enable things to be done at a faster speed than what we can do now.
We hear a lot about driverless cars, smart robotics, improved sensor technologies, and even manufacturing processes that are able to even print in 3 dimensions.
That is a power of the combinations of the human mind with the digital technology, biological science and physical science. We can change almost anything we want.
We will see the industry trying to optimize their operations of robots and automation can replace human beings. There will be less job opportunities around. And we need to be creative, we need to be resourceful, and we need to work together.
This is the kind of life that we foresee in the future.
We need to prepare our students through our...
So when you look at the video, it seems pretty exciting, right? Interesting. And it seems like the technology is going to help the humankind in so many different ways, and there are infinite possibilities for us to explore. Let me share one more video. This kind of characterizes our human characteristics, what we're trying to do with technology. Oops, sorry. And tell me what you think.
In a dimly lit temple, worshippers gather to listen to ancient Buddhist teachings, delivered by a robot. The robot introduces itself as the Buddhist goddess of mercy. According to faith, this deity can appear in any form. The robotic preacher is known as Minda. It's the brainchild of temple steward Tensho Goto, who's hoping to bring worshippers closer to the divine.
Many Buddhist statues.
Oh, you can't see the video?
We can see.
Okay.
Have been made, but they were all just Buddhist images, standing or sitting figures. I wanted to create a Buddhist statue which can speak, make eye contact, and answer questions so that people can feel closer to it.
それが思いですね、今度の仏像を作った。
His vision was fulfilled with the help of a robotics team from Osaka University. Mindar's hands and face are made from silicon, enabling the robot to gesture and talk.
今までの観音
We have succeeded in creating a robotic statue that can convey messages to people interactively.
タラクティブな
Temple officials say Mindar has proven a hit with the crowds, despite initial skepticism.
I thought it would be a little scary. But then I actually came to see it and found it very beautiful.
The way the android speaks like a real human being made me, personally, feel very close to it.
Tensho Goto hopes Mindar will be the first of many androids to deliver the teachings of Buddhism, the high-tech way.
Robots may in the future be able to do more than what us monks can do.
Enlightenment with a futuristic twist, perhaps coming soon to a temple near you.
Yeah, so if you weren't able to see the video, I can send you the link so you can watch it later. So for now, let me share my slides. So I want to start by asking this question: why do I need to know about the fourth industrial revolution? So the bottom line is, like, you've seen the video just now about the robots, and people worshiping a machine, and you might think it's creepy and it's scary and everything, and it is pretty weird. However, I just want you to know that it's impossible to completely resist the technology. Think about it, like what the age we're living right now, the two technologies that can characterize the 21st century are internet and smartphones. And I'm sure none of us here sitting right now can proudly or confidently say that I've never used a smartphone and will never use a smartphone ever, or internet. So in every way, we are affected by technology. So then what's important, instead of trying to resist the technology and go into the mountains and live like a separate and secluded life, what we should do is really to understand the flow of the world and the spiritual background behind it, and use the technology that God has given to us for the evangelism and world missions. So in order to be able to use and leverage the technology, we need to understand what's going on first. And also, on top of that, we need to understand the spiritual background. That's the most important thing. And so today, I'm not going to get into details, like technical details of artificial intelligence, like blockchain or 5G, things like that. But then I want to cover more on my understanding of the spiritual flow and the flow of the world with you guys. So I hope this lecture can help you to see where the world is moving. So all of this, like smartphone movement, I would say, starts from this one man called Steve Jobs. And he dreamed, when he was younger, or when he was alive, that he dreamed, I will have everyone carry a computer in their hand. And within 10 years, he actually fulfills that dream. Because right now in 2016, our smartphones came about in 2007 or 2008. But then in 2016, more than half of the entire world's population owns a smartphone. And it really starts from this one man's dream. And even Pastor Ryu said, the non-believers can actually hear the voice of God. But if the non-believers, the Satan summits, hears the voice of God and utilizes it in order to fulfill their own dream, the significance, the impact is very, very against the well-beings of the human being. And it really spiritually destroy our spirituality. So we can see this by this illustration. In 2007, we owned the smartphones, and in 12 years, what happens is that smartphone owns us and is literally controlling us. Imagine not having a smartphone just a day. You will probably feel very paralyzed, right? And this is basically what we see in our modern transportation grounds. So then we have to ask a question, right? Like, should we then destroy the smartphones and cut off all the internet cables because they're scary and creepy? I would say no, not at all. Actually, when we look at YouTube, this can work two ways. One is if like the Satan summits are using these platforms like YouTube in order to get people addicted. YouTube is very, very fun. You start watching YouTube, and with all the helps of recommendation system, you just click and click and click, and you don't even realize how much time has passed, right? So if the Satan summits, the people of the world who don't have the covenant, use these kinds of platforms, it will be used as a tool to addict people, get people addicted. However, in places like America or in the US or Canada, where the land is massive and vast, it is such a great tool for evangelism and world missions. So it's not matter of what kind of platform, what kind of technology it is. It's actually who uses it. It's same thing as money too, right? We say the economy of light, the economy of darkness. It's not the money that is innately in and of itself is bad. It's the one who uses it, makes it good or makes it bad, right? The same thing with technology. Technology as well, depending on who uses it, depending on whether the person understands the spiritual flow and the impact of it, and also the purpose, the right purpose for using it, whether the person has that understanding or not, it will be used in two completely different ways in affecting and influencing the human beings. And why these platforms or the technologies are important is because these technologies are used in basically instilling the worldviews of Genesis 3, 6, and 11. Why I say that, like, in Genesis 3, 6, and 11, as you guys all know, it's all about me becoming God. You are the most important person on earth, and there's no one who can control you. You make decisions for yourself. And this is actually becoming more and more prevalent with the availability of advanced technologies. And also with Genesis 6, we see all kinds of different pleasures of the world. And technology is actually enabling all of us to do that. And of course, Genesis 11, the success-driven motives, it's being instilled everywhere. And in the fourth industrial revolution, what's the most heated topic, the hot topic, is how to survive. Like, how do I survive in the coming fourth industrial revolution wave? Like, how can I make myself a better person? How can I choose the right major? How can I study or make myself a better person so that I can be a person who succeeds while other people are left behind? That's the main focus that people are focusing on. But that's actually a very much the epitome of Genesis 3, 6, and 11 worldview. Nephilim, like what to eat, what to drink, and where to live. Things like that. And these things are becoming more and more instilled in our society. And when those things happen, or when those things are instilled in our society, there are huge, huge aftermath that comes, right? As we recklessly accept and implement these technologies into our society, what happens is more addiction. People can't really tell the differences between the reality and the digital world. More addiction and also more mental problems. And there will be massive unemployment due to this fourth industrial revolution, because a lot of jobs are going to be replaced. And what are people going to do without knowing, or what are people who don't really know the covenant, who don't know the Christ, why they're living, what are they going to do with in this age? So I just want to quickly discuss, if you look at the history, it is very, very apparent. If we lose hold of the covenant, and if we lose hold of the spiritual strength, what happens is that we worship idols. Same thing in Egypt. Like when after Joseph died, a few decades later, Ramses and Pithom idols are everywhere and prevalent, and people start worshiping all kinds of different gods. Same thing with the Israelites. It's the same rule applies to the people of the covenant as well. Like Israelites, they experienced the Passover that God has shown them, the 10 disasters that were upon Egypt. And also, they saw God really splitting the Red Sea. And they saw these miracles that God had performed. But then what happens when they lose hold of the covenant? They start worshiping golden calf, because that seems more trustworthy than God, who's shown them all kinds of miracles. Same thing with people, same thing with Israelites later on, second generation. Like when even though they saw like God destroying the wall of Jericho, God splitting the Jordan River, even though they all experienced these things, when they enter Canaan, what happens is that they saw this sophisticated culture and the lifestyle of Canaanites, and then they start worshiping Baal, because they think Baal is going to give them prosperity and things like that. So we can apply this in our own world, in today's world as well. In 21st century, the culture and also technology is more sophisticated than ever before in history, if you think about it. And in this age, it is so easy for us to really be affected by the people who control the technology and start worshiping something else other than God. Despite, it doesn't matter whether you go to church every week, doesn't matter you go to a WRC, RCA, it doesn't matter you participate in all kinds of trainings, but if we don't have this spiritual strength to really look upon God in the flood of a whole bunch of technologies and addiction or sources of temptation, we're going to end up just like Israelites. How are we any different? So my point that I wanted to make in the past couple slides is we need to see the flow of the world, and I'm sure this is, in order to do that, we're here, right? Like at this place we're gathering. We need to see the flow of the world, first of all. Second, we need to perceive the spiritual background behind it. Why are things happening the way it is? What does God say about it? What does the Bible say about it? We need to understand the spiritual background. And third, not only just understanding and staying here, we need to use that and leverage the technology for evangelism and world missions. And that's when the recreation part needs to come in, right? And key to doing so is to hear the voice of God. And how do we do that? Summit time. And this is, and I hope you remember this overview throughout the lecture. So let's quickly talk about, since we, in the first point, we said we need to understand the flow of the world. Let's talk about the history of the industrial revolutions. So if you look at the industrial revolutions, there's always this core item that enabled that industrial revolution, that specific industrial revolution, to take place. So for instance, first industrial revolution is characterized by steam, and it's enabled by steam engine and also the water power. And you might think, oh, steam engine, come on, like, well, what's so important? What's so significant about that? But it's actually pretty cool in that it was the first time in the history of mankind where we realized that it's not, the energy doesn't have to come from a living thing. Energy actually can come from something that's not living. For instance, like coal or water, or we can use these nature in order to make ourselves or make our lives easier, basically. Okay, so that steam engine happened, and because of the steam engine, people who used to sell shoes or backpacks or things like that only in the village, they were able to do businesses elsewhere. You know, their territory becomes larger. And 100 years later, electricity comes in by Tesla and Thomas Edison. And that's the start of Second Industrial Revolution. What's so significant about Second Industrial Revolution? What's different about the Second Industrial Revolution is that in the first Industrial Revolution, we couldn't store the energy that was generated by whether steam engine or water power. But with the advent of electricity, we are able to not only create energy, but also store the energy that has been generated. And that's actually very significant. And it led to urbanization. Why? Because people were able to now plan things, how to use the energy, and allowed for bigger mass of people to live in the same or in the smaller area. So it allowed for higher density, and therefore people start coming into the cities and urbanization takes place. But and what we're used to is the third industrial revolution. And before we get into that, I want to quickly point out that you can think of this technology invention as enhancements of our muscles. What do I mean by that? So for instance, when we develop a car, usually nobody here probably can race a car and win the race, right? So what that means is cars took us to the places that we couldn't go in the same at the same time with our own legs. So it took us to places. So it basically enhanced our leg muscles. And for instance, there's a crane at the bottom picture. It could lift up ships that is so heavy that even like 100 men couldn't lift it up together. So it basically enhanced our arm muscles. So basically what I'm saying is these technologies are enhancements of our muscles. But until the second industrial revolution, it enhanced our physical muscles, like body parts. But in the third industrial revolution, what enhanced, what the technology enhanced was our brain, our cognitive power. So in the third industrial revolution, what happens is that using the electricity, using the powers and the energy that was generated and stored in the second industrial revolution, using that energy in order to make it into digital power. You can think of it as a computing power. And using the computing power, we were able to completely make a new world that is aside from the spiritual realm and aside from the physical realm. We created something called digital world. And when the digital world came, it is pretty significant because now we don't have to sell a single physical product in order to become one of the biggest firms in the nation. For instance, Google. Like imagine there's no physical product that Google sells, except Google phone, but that's not what got them up there. But then Google is the second largest company in terms of net worth in the world, and it doesn't sell a single physical product, and it's still up there. And with the computing powers, what the world is doing is creating combining different kinds of knowledge that's available on the internet and creating new knowledge, right? And then it comes the fourth industrial revolution, which is the topic that we're here for. Does anyone know? So I've listed these 5 major technologies. Fourth industrial revolution, like Internet of Things, 5G network, blockchain, cloud computing, artificial intelligence. So I'm sure you guys have heard all of these, and I'm not going to get into technical details of each technology. If you want to know, then we've done like a course, like a 12-week course of these. So ask me for a YouTube link. But for now, what I want to focus on is how are these technologies are enabling the fourth industrial revolution. Because we said we said in each industrial revolution there is a core item or technology that enables each industrial revolution. So these five, basically you can say that these five are major technologies that are enabling fourth industrial revolution. However, and the fourth industrial revolution doesn't happen by each individual technology, but when all of these technologies are enabled by data, it's centered around data that we collect. Okay, with the data that's being collected, we operate Internet of Things. With the big data that's being collected, we operate artificial intelligence so that it can give us better recommendations and solve a lot of problems in the world. With the data, it's being stored in the cloud computing. With the data, it's securely processed and securely stored in the blockchain network. So, and with the data, 5G is allowing the data to be transmitted and shared across the machines and across people and computers at a very fast speed. So what's key about fourth industrial revolution is this data and what this data is being used with different technologies. So I didn't know until a couple months ago, but I realized there are so many apps that Google created. And I realized that I use many of these Google apps. And when you think about it, it's pretty crazy because Google knows better than you know yourself. Yeah, you can say that because your Chrome, the search engine, like the things that you search actually shows a lot about the interest that you have. Also the Gmail that you use, the Google knows who you are talking to, what you're talking about, what files you're sending. Basically, they know who your coworkers are. They know what kind of like bills you're receiving. Google Photo too. Like Google Photo knows. Google knows like who you're most close to, like who you like have video calls with. Like Google Map too. Like Google Map knows where you live, like where you go most often. Basically, Google knows a lot of it, a lot about yourself, and it's pretty, and that's pretty scary because if somebody knows the true self, or if somebody knows about you, like the true you, then the person has the power to influence you in many different ways. And that's how Google has become the second most net worth firm in the world, and or in America. And here, what I'm trying to say is all the companies nowadays are dying to get the data. And because data is the new oil, data is the new gold, data is the new energy, data is the new power that is giving the companies and the government and all the organizations the power to operate in this world. So then why do people collect data is something that I want to share with you guys. Why do people collect data? It's because we want statistics. And what do I mean by that? Statistics is basically using the data. Statistics shows you the best way. It shows you the best decision that you can make given the data. So what people are doing is basically, I don't know the future. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I am the master of my life. So I'm going to choose the way that has the least risk, and that's the best possible way possible. That's kind of weird, but you know what I'm saying, right? So people become the masters of themselves, and they want to choose for themselves, choose the best things, the things that are most beneficial for themselves. That's why they have to collect data. And in Genesis 3:5, it says, "For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God." And this is the instilled worldview that is prevalent in this world too. Like why are people so crazy about data? Why are people so crazy about big data? Like collecting all kinds of data and making this world an automated and efficient place. It's because we want to be God. Like if you have a problem in life, you don't ask God, you ask Google or Facebook, or you just search it up and find the best way possible. And that's how companies operate too. They collect all kinds of data to make the best possible decision. You know, and I just want to share with you the signs of the end times, and I just want to let you know that this hasn't been not prophesied. So it has been prophesied in the Old Testament. The Bible says about what is going to happen in the end times, and it says people will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good. And I'm pretty sure you guys all know BTS, right? And BTS recently, they went to UN and did a speech. And basically what they said is, hey, love yourself. There's no absolute truth in the world. So only truth resides in you and only in you. So learn more about yourself, what you love, and just love who you are. Just accept who you are. But that's a very scary statement, because throughout the history of human time, in medieval times, like when there were Catholic churches, we human beings sought to find truth through religion. You know, some way, like we will find the truth through religion, the God that the human beings created. However, as Acts 4:12 says, there is salvation in no one else given among men under heaven by which we must be saved. And we weren't able to find the truth. So what happens? What comes in is the Enlightenment era, the age of rationality. Let's find God through science. Let's find God through reason. Let's find God or the truth through rationality. And what happens? Even that, we weren't able to find the absolute truth. World War II, World War I, all kinds of wars happen, and people start thinking, what's wrong with the world? What has the science? All these technologies have led us to complete mass destruction. So people thinking other ways of how can we find the truth? So now in postmodern era, what people are thinking is, hey, I can find only the truth only is in myself, in here. So if I believe that I am happy doing this, if then that's the truth, and that should be justified because I want it, because I think it's right. So that's the world we're in right now. So if even though you were born as a male, even though you're born as a male, you think you're a female, then you're a female. And we are living in the age where we celebrate those kinds of like transformations that people accept. And this has been prophesied. And also there is a protest that's happening that happened due to things. And we see like all kinds of things that have been prophesied. And also in Daniel chapter 12:4, it says, many will go here and there to increase knowledge. And you know, right now we have 4G, like 5G is coming, but 4G actually transfers about 1 gigabyte per second. That's the maximum speed. But with the advent of 5G, it's 20 times faster in terms of max speed. And it's basically the data that is being shared all across the world and across machines and across people is going to be a lot faster. And 5G is going to allow for that. So as Daniel 12:4 says, yeah, people are, the world is going to get faster, and people are going to go here and there, searching for knowledge, searching for truth, and technology is in the middle of that. And also, as science advances, sufferings also increase. It says, for with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. And the mind of sinful man is death, but the mind controlled by the Spirit is life and peace. And I just wanted to mention that in right now, our data is being collected from what? Like from smartphones and tablets and computers, right? But in the fourth industrial revolution era, data will be collected from everything, like literally everything, like from smart bed, like it's going to track like how you sleep, like your sleeping pattern, how well you sleep, what time you go to sleep. Same thing with smart watch, right? Like that you put here, it tracks all kinds of your biomedical data, like your heart rate, your pulse, your blood pressure, stuff like that. So it's not gonna, and also the traffic lights and the cars, even the cars will collect data in the fourth industrial revolution when Internet of Things really take place. So it's going to be every like we're going to be tracked with by data everywhere. And when things like that happens, we think we're going to solve the problems that we have. Oh, I'm not sleeping well, so I need to track my sleeping pattern and I need to find a better way to sleep and things like that. But then actually when you see the sleeping pattern data, like it actually gives you more grief and more suffering. And I just want you remnants to see that technology might seem good, but at the same time it has limitations, and also it actually creates even more problems and even more questions on the table. So lastly, this is my last slide. There are two kinds of people who, and one is people who are filled by the Spirit of God, and the other is the people who are filled by the spirit of Satan. And there are two kinds of people. There are people who are summits and people who are crowd. Who are summits? Summits are the ones who are completely filled by some kind of spirit. It could be the evil spirit, it could be the devil spirit, or it could be the Holy Spirit. And the crowds in the middle are affected by the summits. And when I say and I want you guys to realize that there are Satan summits, and Satan summits are not people who are like crazy. They're not people who are demon possessed. They're not people who are mentally ill or something like that. Actually, they are the people who are in the top of the ladder, people who are actually moving the world. So if you are not completely filled by the Holy Spirit from head to toe, you will be influenced by some kind of summit. It could, if you're lucky, if God allows you to be around the summit who is filled by the Holy Spirit, you will be filled by, you will be influenced by the people who are Gospel Summit. However, if you're influenced by, if you don't have the Spirit of God completely filled from head to toe, you will be influenced by Satan Summit. And everyday life, they don't have to reach out to you and come to you to influence you. The ways to influence your life is plenty. It could be computer, it could be the TV shows that you watch, it could be tablets, it could be your phone, it could be your social media, there could be so many ways that the Satan Summits are using the technology in order to influence young kids and everyone's life. So I really pray that someone from this group really enjoys the summit time and realizes why we need to enjoy the summit time and see the flow of the world and really recreate so that we can heal the dying 237 nations. So there's a famous quote by a French philosopher. It says, life is a C between B and D. Life is a choice between birth and death. What choices are you making? So I want you guys to think about that, and hopefully this lecture helped you really see what's coming and what are the fundamental problems that are revealed by these technologies and what you should do. So that's it. Anyone have any questions? My battery's dying, sorry.
All right. First of all, can we all see your pretty faces? Let's at least show our faces to our speaker. So if you can turn on your camera.